What is going on YouTube? Kronos here, and welcome back to another PSO2 video. So today's video, we're just going to have a little bit of a talk. Kind of talking a little bit about recent solo SOTM times that have popped up. I know I've seen a lot of things pop up about how well some people are doing, how not so well some people are doing, and I wanted to kind of address this and talk a little bit to it because this is actually indicative of a lot of other thoughts I've had about PSO2, and I kind of wanted to bring it to you guys in a video. But before we jump into that, just so you guys know, hey, I'm Chrono. I do videos daily for YouTube, as well as stream consistently over on Twitch at least 4 days a week. If you guys want to keep up with that content, make sure toss a like on the video, it'll be super helpful. Subscribe if you want to keep up with content moving forward, and of course you can catch me over on Twitch. But anyway guys, let's jump on into this. So as you guys know, we've got solo SOTM out finally. One of the fights I've actually been looking forward to doing because I'm a really big fan of fighting SOTM, honestly. And with that, I've also seen a lot of comments start to pop up, comments either being on YouTube videos or comments over on Twitch talking about, people's solo SOTM times. And some people getting really discouraged about, how well they're doing against this boss and, them being concerned about moving forward, or other people commenting on their alliances, talking about, their times and like how excited they were about the times that they got, and people talking like, hey, that time's not really anything to be excited about. What are you, getting all happy, all jump for joy over? And this really speaks to a whole of what PSO2 currently actually is at the moment. So let's jump back a little bit and talk a little bit about what PSO2 really is, kind of when it comes down to its, I guess its PvE aspect. Granted, there's really no PvP, but it's overall PvE aspect of the game itself. So PSO2 at the moment, as far as gearing goes in the game itself, does not really require you to solo anything. Realistically speaking, you can always do content with friends and you'll get through just about everything you need to get through to get some of the best content or some of the best gear in the game. You can be the strongest without having to really put in high amounts or high levels of skilled effort. And don't misunderstand me when I say that you don't have to be great to get great gear in PSO2, but in reality, that's kind of what it is. You don't have to be amazing at the game to get great gear in PSO2. Now, that doesn't mean that great gear will always necessarily carry you. Having endgame affixes, endgame units, endgame weapons, while yes, they do make quite the big difference, does not always translate to being able to completely carry through content. That's where honestly one of my most hated comments comes from. Now granted, I don't like the comment, but it doesn't mean that's incorrect, where your gear will not always carry you over skill, where skill is more important. And while that is true, it discounts the amount of effort you put into getting gear. So I'm not a huge fan of the comment itself. However, it is applicable in the situation itself. It does not mean because you have great gear that you're always going to play the best you possibly can. But that's not necessarily completely the situation itself. It also has a lot to do with what you had to go through to get the gear in the first place. Now, one thing PSO2 does that it does well is it incentivizes you to play with friends. Running content with your friends, doing things with friends, really, there's no downside to it. There's very small pieces of content that force you into being solo, playing on your own. The thing about that is that realistically, even playing in large groups, you don't have to be that great at the game to do it. Take, let's see, other games like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14 as an example. Some of the content that requires more people, something like Raid Finder in World of Warcraft or the 24 mans of Final Fantasy 14, one person not being that great at the game doesn't make a huge difference. And realistically speaking, if those pieces of content are all you needed to do to get the best gear in the game itself, then the overall player base would actually be not as good as they currently are. Granted, I'm not saying the people in Final Fantasy 14 or World of Warcraft are all fantastic players. I am saying that usually in those games, to have great gear, you have to have a certain level of skill. Right now in PSO2, that doesn't exist. Someone who really, realistically, granted, I'm not telling you to ever do this, but if you think about it, you could AFK your way to full sets of gear and everything that you need in endgame. Granted, you'd have to do some affixing, but to get all of the drops you need, everything like that, fighting all the bosses, realistically, you could AFK your way to victory. Now, granted, one person out of 12 people not doing anything doesn't make that big of a difference because it's not hard enough to the point where you would need all 12 people being at a certain skill level to be able to complete that content. However, there's really no separation between those sorts of things. So why am I talking about all these things? Why does this make any sense with, thinking about solo SOTM? Well, up until this point, the game hasn't really ever forced you into a solo scenario that you consistently have to do to get anything that you want. We could make the argument that, Solo Masquerade's a thing, but Solo Masquerade didn't have amazing loot tables that you really needed to do consistently. At best, Solo Masquerade floor 1 was like great for farming X cubes, but that was about it. Anything after floor 100 didn't really matter that much outside of cosmetic. Like, I mean, actually, even up to floor 100, the only thing you really got was cosmetics. So you weren't forced into a solo situation. You weren't forced to take on the game on your own. Meaning, as a player, you really didn't grow that much. And you would say, you know, playing in a group is how I like to play. I only want to optimize playing in a group. But what you'll find is playing solo does force a level of optimization that you're probably not used to. I know myself personally, I was a very, very different player before trying anything solo. And when I did try things solo where I hadn't, I get absolutely destroyed. Bosses that I thought were just nothing honestly destroyed me. They wrecked me. And it's because I never tried fighting them solo. I never had to deal with them all on me, where everything was based on what I did. It made a fairly big difference overall. Now, what I'm basically trying to say overall, guys, is that it's okay to not have fantastic times right now. What I'm saying is it's okay to not be that great at what you're doing. But that's where you start. You still want to move forward past that. And laughing at like your friends or your alliance mates saying that, man, that time isn't that great. Dude, they put in the effort to at least get the time itself. The idea is that you want to progress. You want to keep trying and get better. Take the time that you fight solo Sodom. Maybe this is a time that you look at how someone else is playing. I know a lot of times people ask me, you know, hey, what do you recommend? I play X class, or hey, this weapon doesn't seem to be doing that great against this fight. Maybe I should try something else. And the answer I always give is, hey man, check out someone who's in your exact situation doing something even harder than you're doing, and see what they're doing and maybe look at trying to mimic it. One thing that does get undervalued in the PS2 community right now, in my opinion, are solo runs. Solo runs of people doing really, really amazing stuff. Videos that I put out that, in my opinion, are less effort of just providing you information. Granted, they are effort of putting the video together, of setting things up, but like of actual skilled effort, those get overlooked a lot. And those are super, super helpful. At least for me, they help me with learning the game overall. So I would highly, highly recommend checking out some of those videos. If you feel like your solo Sodom time isn't that great, maybe check out someone else who did a depth 100 of the same class of you, of maybe the same weapon type that you're using, and see what they did that's a bit different. And even with all those things said, excuse me, don't force yourself to have to be that person when it comes to a game. Not everyone is born with the same level of skill behind everything. Not everyone's going to have the same level of mechanics behind everything. Play to your bests. Figure out what you feel like is worth the time that you're putting into it. Maybe you only have an hour or two to play in video games a day. You can only put in so much time. Maybe you have more time, but you know, you like spending that time a bit differently. Make sure that you are at a level that you feel is comfortable for yourself. Maybe you aren't anyone who's going to get up to depth 100, right? Maybe you just want to have solid runs of floor 1 to get a chance at dropping something. Maybe your goal is floor 40. That way you can start farming for augment will 2, so on and so forth. Like, you know, there's always these different situations that are different for everyone. So when I see someone that says, man, I got a 12-minute time, my first thought is, hey, you have something to work towards. Now you know that you can complete it. Maybe you can complete it faster, or maybe you can hold that 12-minute time the whole way through against a harder and more challenging boss each time, because that's the thing, is he gets stronger every single time. You guys have seen by now, I'm posting my every 10 floors, and you've seen that the times are getting longer and longer. The one that you guys are probably going to see that's the most interesting one is my floor 50 I did on my ship 2 alt, who has much worse gear than my ship 1 character. And the time was about a 2.5 minute difference compared to what it normally is. It does make a difference. However, you can overcome those if that's something that you're looking towards. So if you guys are someone who has like been working on it, or you have a friend that's been working on it, they're a bit discouraged, I mean, let them know, hey, look, you may not be used to having to do this. If you've never done solo content before and this is the first time you're jumping into it and you're like, man, I can't complete this, that makes sense. Everyone's got to start somewhere. Anyone you've seen who's played the game that's an absolute god at all of a sudden, they weren't like that just all of a sudden. They sucked at some point. Including me. I also sucked at some point as well. Granted, I'm not saying I'm fantastic, but I was pretty bad too. So keep your head up, guys. Keep pushing forward if you're trying to go for the solo Sodom times. Or hey, maybe if you're someone who's never tried it, hopefully this will encourage you to, hey, give it a shot. It might be something new to do now that you might have more time on your hands. We don't have any new UQs coming specifically, nothing like crazy when it comes to bosses, so now might be the time to jump into it. I even know myself, I'll be looking into doing things like endless or solo endless, group endless, and things like that, because those are challenges I haven't tried before, not at least seriously yet. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to go ahead and make this video talking to you guys, let you know kind of my thoughts on the situation itself, and let you know to, hey, keep pushing forward, keep trying. I'd love to hear about your times. I know some people are already commenting about their times in the comments of these other videos that I'm releasing. Keep doing it. I want to hear about your progression, maybe where you started at the start of the series, maybe what your times are. Feel free to post what times you guys are getting in the comments on those videos compared to my own, because I'd love to hear about them, maybe the gear that you're running, so on and so forth, what's worked well for you. And yeah, we'll have a good time, a little bit of a discussion. Anyway guys, a like on the video is always appreciated and absorbs your half your ad block out. The other half is absorbed by subscribing. Both are completely free and they do help me out a ton. If you want to keep up with content, make sure to click on the bell icon to be notified of videos when they go live, as well as community posts, or join us over on Discord or follow me over on Twitter for notifications via those two avenues. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Peace out.